the long-term effects of what can happen. When I was watching the slideshow about the pheromone, of course there's no mention of the microcapsules, and I'm glad to hear a lot of people have talked about that. I started researching this on the web to find out exactly what the inert substances were. The microcapsules are very scary. A lot of people have talked about the respiratory effects that can have. They work just like pollen as far as really sticking to the surfaces and staying long term. It is not a short-term thing. The other thing that I wanted to discuss, and I'm actually writing an article right now for some of the papers, another quote-unquote inert substance, and I apologize, I left my research stuff at home because I just learned about this meeting. But one of the main ingredients, which can be looked up on the web, that's where I found it, is what's called an endocrine disruptor. What that means is that it turns on the production of estrogen in the body. Anybody who hears that probably knows that that is a key for breast cancer. That's the one that made me just outraged. I mean, I'm outraged about everything else too, but no one has talked anything about the immediate cancer risk involved. The 643 reports, I agree, were way underestimated as far as the immediate harm. People's eyes and mucous membranes and lungs burned. That is talked about as being a short-term thing, but what I'm very concerned about is the long-term, 10, 20, 30 years down the road when we're talking about a estrogen problem, a possible cancer-causing agent that we're being exposed to, and how that's going to affect our children, everybody long-term. So that hadn't come up, and I wanted to mention that aspect as well.
A doctor that spoke before me touched on a subject that this can cause cancer. There are chemicals in checkmate that can cause breast cancer. My grandmother struggled with breast cancer for 10 years before dying on my mother's side. My grandmother on my father's side was lucky enough to catch it before she died. I live in fear that one day I will develop breast cancer, and I find out that with all the prevention I do, you're now spraying me with a chemical that can cause it. That's not right to me or to anybody.